Hi folks, HR Funk here. Several weeks ago, I produced a video review of the Onnais Iron Pro Max gun safe. If you missed that video, I'll put a link to it in the description section of this video. But the Iron Pro Max is a safe for your firearms and other valuables that allows 3 quick and convenient methods for gaining access. One is via a biometric scanner for your fingerprints, and you can program in up to 80 fingerprints. Last time I checked, I only have 10, so you can also add your friends and family if you want them to have access as well. And simply by scanning your fingerprint, it will allow access to the safe. Also, there is a numbered keypad, and you can set the combination to virtually anything you want. And once you key in the combination, it will allow access to the safe. And finally, there is a key to mechanically unlock the safe in case all else fails or the batteries which power the Pro Max die. But if those batteries do die, there is also a USB-C cable that can be used to temporarily power the safe. Since the time that I produced that video, I have been using the Onnais Iron Pro Max gun safe virtually every day for my firearms and other items, and it's worked very, very well. In fact, I've never changed the batteries, and I've only ever used the key to unlock the safe when I was conducting the demonstration in the original video. Today what I have is the Onnais Defender Pro Gun Lock, which has very similar features to the Iron Pro Max, but it also has some significant differences. And in this video, I'm going to give you an up-close look at the Defender Pro. I'll tell you about its features and functions. We'll look at some of the handguns that it fits and some that it doesn't. And in the end, I'll let you know what I think of it in general. So here we go. Here's our first up-close look at the Onnais Defender Pro Gun Lock. And this item is meant to be mounted to a piece of furniture or a wall or even inside your vehicle to allow secure storage of your handgun when you are not immediately using it, but allow instant access to it if you need it. When we look at the gun lock itself, we can see that it has several features that I mentioned that are in common with the gun safe. We have the biometric fingerprint scanner right there. We have the programmable keypad, and also there is mechanical access right here via a key to unlock the safe, or excuse me, unlock the gun lock. On the bottom is a USB-C port and also the buttons that are used to actually program the gun lock to accept different fingerprints and also to establish your key code combination. On the side, there are 2 magazine storage containers, so that's kind of nice. You have extra ammo that can be stored as well. The mounting bracket can be reversed, so if you don't want to store it by screwing it down and securing it to something this way, you could remove these screws, change it around, and secure it the other way. You could probably even flip it upside down if you wanted to, and it gives you a variety of different ways that you can mount this. So however you want to mount it, wherever you want to mount it, you should be able to come up with a way to do that. I'm trying to give you a look down inside the gun lock so you can see exactly how this secures the handgun inside. If you look, you can see these 2 opposing bars right here. And when the firearm is inserted, I'll have to open it up, this lock button is used to position the opposing bars inside of the trigger guard of the handgun so it cannot be removed from the gun lock. Then, in order to access, using one of the methods that I talked about, either a fingerprint, the key code combination, or the key with the mechanical lock here, the opposing bars move out of the way and the handgun can be removed. I'm not going to go over the programming sequence for the keypad or the fingerprint scanner, but what I'll tell you is it is very, very easy. There is a quick start guide that comes with the gun lock. It gives very good instructions on how to go about doing this. It took me all of about maybe 10 minutes to set my combination and also set all 10 of my fingerprints. So very quick, very easy. It does require, as I said before, the use of these buttons on the bottom, which is one thing that I think would be more convenient. If these buttons were on the side, perhaps, then when you mount this to, say, a desk or a wall or what have you, you don't have to be quite so concerned about being able to access this again in the future if you want to add more fingerprints or you want to change your combination or anything like that. So that's one of my criticisms of this particular item, is that the buttons for programming, and let me get the focus adjusted, the buttons for programming and the USB-C port are on the bottom. I think it would be a lot handier if they were up here on the side someplace. Along with possibly being used in a vehicle, one of the places where I could see this gun lock being particularly well suited is for someone who sits behind a desk but might have need for access to a firearm. This could be mounted very easily underneath the desk and allow that person virtually instantaneous access to the firearm while keeping it safe, as I said before, from unauthorized access. Similarly, if someone stands behind a counter, they could do the same sort of thing, although obviously the orientation of the gun lock would probably have to be slightly different. Something to be mindful of when considering mounting the gun lock are these two screws. These are the screws that can be removed to separate the lock from the mounting bracket in order to change the position of the lock to however someone might need it, depending upon exactly where they're going to put the gun lock. But once these two screws are removed, as I said, the bracket separates from the lock, so if anyone has access to these screws and enough time, they could simply unscrew the screws and then take lock, firearm, and all, and spend however much time they might need in a different location trying to remove the firearm from the gun lock. If this was mounted under a desk, for example, and my hand was the desktop, that would make it very difficult to get in there with a screwdriver, but I would really rather see these screws protected somehow to prevent that type of thing from happening. Unlike the Iron Pro Max gun safe, the Defender Pro gun lock is not battery powered, or at least it's not powered by interchangeable batteries. Rather, it has an internal rechargeable battery that is charged and recharged via the USB port right here. So it's another thing you need to be mindful of when mounting this, because you are going to need to be able to access that USB port periodically in order to recharge the battery of the Defender Pro. In case you're worried about the rechargeable battery going dead at the worst possible time, there is a low battery alert. When the battery gets low and needs to be recharged, anytime the Defender Pro is unlocked, the indicator light on the bottom flashes. Now you may or may not be able to see that, but it also beeps for 3 seconds after the unlocking process is complete. So it does give you a visual and audible signal that you need to recharge the battery, and obviously if you see or hear that, it's time to plug it in for a recharge. The Defender Pro does come with a USB-C charging cord that you see here. It also comes with 2 keys for mechanically unlocking the lock, and I do mean unlocking. The key does not lock the firearm inside of the gun lock. Right now I am turning the key and you see those opposing bars are not coming across to secure a firearm in place. The only way to secure it is to push the lock button. Then the key, once I get in there, simply unlocks those bars. And the other items that accompany the Defender Pro in the box is a quick start guide. The quick start guide also has a couple of QR codes, and these will take you to online sites that have tutorial videos. And there are a variety of mounting screws and screw anchors. Something I was curious about with regard to the Defender Pro was exactly what all type of handguns it would secure, since obviously different designs are going to have different contours and different trigger guard profiles and one thing and another. So what I'm going to do now is go through a variety of different handguns and we'll see what fits and what doesn't. I'm going to start out with the Ruger RXM, which generally is going to be representing the Glock 19 type handguns. And it locks in place with no problem. It is secured in there and it releases with no problem also. So Glock 19s should be fine. Let's try something else. Smith & Wesson M&P. No problem securing it in place, and no problem releasing it. How about a Canic? In this case, it is the Canic Rival Darkside. No problem securing it in place, and since the keypad is basically blocked at this point, I'll show releasing with the keypad combination. No problem with the Canic whatsoever. How about the much maligned SIG 320? In this case, it is my M18. It locks in place, it stays secured, and it releases instantaneously. Up to now, everything has been one version or another of a poly striker pistol. How about if we go to something like a Beretta 92? Locks in place and releases. Traditional Smith & Wesson autoloader, in this case a 5904, locks in place and releases. CZ75, and I would imagine all of its variants, no problem locking it in place and no problem releasing it. Up to this point, we've been looking at all handguns that do actually fit in the Defender Pro, and we've had handguns with barrels as long as about 5.5 inches and as short as 3.9 inches, and none of that has seemed to matter much. Now let's look at some handguns that are not going to fit. Virtually anything that has a weapon-mounted light is not going to fit inside the Defender Pro. Maybe not surprisingly, but I did want to mention that for anyone who wasn't sure. 1911s. Sometimes they fit and sometimes they don't, and this makes me very nervous. Now, I did have one of these cocked and locked a while ago, and I pressed in on the grip safety and I tried to see if I could engage the trigger to drop the hammer, and I was not able to do that. But that whole situation makes me very, very nervous. So I would be very hesitant to use the Defender Pro with a 1911. Probably not surprisingly, since the 1911 doesn't fit, the Browning High Power will not lock in place. And also, perhaps not surprisingly, revolvers will not fit inside the gun lock. The cylinders are just too wide to go down inside, and I've tried this even with some of my very small J-frames, and they still are too big to go down inside the gun lock. I want to make a couple of final points, beginning with the beeps that you've heard when I've been accessing the handguns or removing the handguns from the Defender Pro, either using the keypad or the biometric scanner. Those can be disabled. So if you'd prefer not to have anyone hear the beeps as you are accessing your handgun, you can turn that off. It's explained in the quick start guide. That's no problem whatsoever. Also, if you want to remove fingerprints that you have programmed into the biometric scanner, you can do that as well. So if you've granted someone temporary access to your handgun and you want to remove that temporary access, or for whatever other reasons you want to take fingerprints out of the biometric scanner, they can be deleted. In the end, there are quite a few things that I like about the Defender Pro gun lock. I like the fact that it can be mounted in so many different orientations. I like the fact that it's very quick and easy to program both the key code combination as well as the fingerprints. I like the fact that it's so secure with these dual opposing bars. Once you place your handgun down inside there, it's not coming out unless it's properly accessed. I like the fact that there is magazine storage on board. I like the fact that it will accommodate so many different types of handguns, and it's even got some padding in here to try to make sure that it's keeping your handgun finish from being damaged. But there are also some things I'm not so crazy about, beginning with the location of these programming buttons and the USB-C port right here. I would suggest if you get one of these, you program in your key code and your fingerprints and all that before you mount it, so you don't have to worry about trying to get in underneath a desk or on the opposite side of a wall or whatever and try to do the things that are necessary to program this. As I said, it is a very easy process, but you still have to be able to press the buttons and then access the front to be able to punch in the keys to get the key code combination and place your fingers on the biometric scanner to be able to get the fingerprints imprinted and all of that. So you have that to be concerned about, and since this is rechargeable, you're going to need to be able to gain access to the USB-C port periodically in order to recharge the internal battery. So for all those reasons, I would much rather see these things along the side here someplace, or maybe down here at the bottom, or someplace that they're going to be much easier to access than all the way back here on the back. Also, as I said, these screws concern me. Because of these screws and the fact that someone can remove them, potentially, and separate the gun lock from the mounting bracket, I really view this as a temporary storage device. This is something while you're seated at your desk, or while you're standing behind the counter, or while you're sitting in your vehicle, or what have you, you can have your firearm in there, and it is secure. Maybe if you stand up from your desk to go get a cup of coffee or something so you can still see the area and know where your firearm is and know who's around it, that might be okay. But I really don't see this as being a long-term storage option. This is something, as I said, where you are basically right beside it or very close by, and you can secure your firearm there, and then if you need it, it's available to you. So there you go, folks. That is my review of the Onnais Defender Pro gun lock. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you have any questions or comments about this video, make sure you forward those to me. Remember, stop by my website, hrfunk.com. Check out the news and information page to see all the latest things that are going on with me and the channel. And also go by the products page, because a lot of the products that I've reviewed have links to the manufacturers on that page. And beneath some of those links is some information that'll save you some money if you decide to make a purchase. See you next time, folks. And until then, good shooting. Bye-bye.